district goals report.
Kristen?
So tonight we have 3 staff members here to report out on 4 district goals. So first I'll invite our Director of Student Services up, Ms. Beth Augustine, and she'll report out on the graduation and matriculation data from the class of 2017-18.
All right, good evening. So I will start with graduation rate. For the class of 2018, I had predicted a graduation rate of 95.8. I was slightly off on my prediction, 1.5. Unfortunately, we had 3 students during the 2017-18 school year drop. I've listed the 7 students that dropped. 2 of them were transfer students, 3 of the 7 were special education students, and 2 of those 7 students entered a GED program. I can say that there was a lot of effort and energy that went into trying to keep those students at RB, efforts of counselors, social workers, deans, to try to keep them in high school, and unfortunately losing a few of them was not from lack of effort. But I would point out that over the last 10 years, we've ranged from 8 to 13 students dropping, and so this year losing 7 means that I think we're doing a good job. We're trying to keep as many in the building as we possibly can. We had 7 students that did not graduate in May, but were able to attend summer school and earn their diploma, so those students counted in our graduation rate. And we had 15 students retained for the 2018-19 school year. All 15 of those students were special education students. One of them receiving a certificate of attendance, meaning that they were not working towards a diploma. 13 of them met their graduation requirements, but opted to stay on for transition services. They have that right to stay on until the day before their 22nd birthday. And then we had 1 student who was credit deficient who was unable to finish during summer school. But the good news is the student completed his graduation requirements and has already earned his diploma. So that 94.3% has already jumped up a little bit after this student graduated. So in looking at adjusting the graduation rate, taking into consideration the student that are in the COA and the 13 students that stayed on for transition, and this is answering Mr. Walsh's question, the state does not take into consideration those students staying on for transition as graduates. So that's why they are counting against us in graduation rate. So if you look at, add in the 14 students, COA, and the 13 that stayed on for transition, our graduation rate is really 97.8, which I think is pretty spectacular, a pretty strong graduation rate. And then that will get adjusted as some of those transition students either take their diploma or age out at 22. And then if you look for the adjusted graduation rate for the class of 2017, I had predicted 95.5 when actually it was 97. So all of our students that came back last fall ended up earning their diploma, and then several of our transition students opted to take their diploma. So that's why the 2017 graduation rate changed from 94% to 97. So I anticipate that will be close to 98 or higher for our adjusted for 2018.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Sure.
Just to make sure, you explain it every year, but.
That's okay.
So if a student gets a certificate of special ed students, if they can choose if they have the credits to graduate or not, if they want to continue with the services, right?
So this is not completely my wheelhouse, but there are some students that will not have the, earning a diploma is not part of their IEP plan. They're more attending RB, and that's the certificate of attendance.
Oh, okay.
And so those students are not considered a graduate of RB. But that is what the IEP team has decided was the best plan for them in their educational program.
But the 13 that met the graduation requirements but stayed, if they graduate, they can't stay, right?
They
can choose to do one.
Correct. So they participated in the ceremony.
Okay.
They did not take their diploma physically. We recognize them as being students that attended RB, and then when they decide to actually take their diploma, then that's when they exit from RB, and then they're considered a graduate.
I see. And they can stay till their day before their 22nd birthday, right?
So this is one of the largest transition groups that we've had since I can remember. And I don't know if just more and more families are choosing for their students to stay on for transition, but to have 13 students in one class, that was pretty large.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions on graduation?
I just was actually looking at the Illinois State Report Card. So now they start to report out on 5, 6, and 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually are getting, on that document, we get credit for these kids who stay till.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, we do. And sometimes the students will just stay on for 1 year. They just need an additional year of transition. And some of our students, depending on their needs, stay on until the day before their 22nd birthday. It's really a student and family decision.
Beth, on page 2 of your report on 48 for the board, your projection for class of 19?
Yes, 94.6, and that's taking into account some students that we've already lost through a GED program and students that have dropped. We have found that students that drop early, sometimes in their sophomore or junior year, come back to us. They realize that it's tough out there to find a job, or the GED route is not for them, so they will come back and we re-enroll them, and we do the best we can to get them caught up and get them to graduate on time or during the summer. So I'm always hopeful that we'll get a few of those students back. And then it's really just a matter of maintaining those seniors that we have right now, those students that are credit deficient, that they're in a credit recovery program, that they're working with counselors, that they're meeting, with teachers, that we're really staying on top of those students to ensure that they're getting all the support that they need to try and graduate on time. And again, if you look at students with transition services, they've already planned out that they will probably return to RB for a 5th or a 6th year to receive transition services. Looking at 5 students that right now are credit deficient. We hope they work really hard to try and meet that May graduation date, but that's just the 94.6 is what I'm projecting, and then that's closely monitored throughout the year through the counselors and I meeting in what we call small teams, keeping track of credits, looking at students' attendance, seeing what additional supports we need to ensure that those students are going to get through. And then I did want to address Mr. Walsh's question about social work services. So we were fortunate enough to add a 0.6 social worker this year. So we have an additional person here 3 days a week. And I think having that additional support really allows us to provide more tier 1 supports to our students. Our special education students certainly have our mandated minutes that our social workers have to provide. We certainly have students in crisis that those needs have to be met first, but having an additional social worker in the building really helps us plan those preventative programs. For example, this week is National Suicide Prevention Week, and the social workers, along with the school psychs, have put together a week-long worth of activities that are really opening students' eyes up to depression and anxiety and where to go for help, and not just for themselves, but if they have concerns about their peers, that they know who to reach out to. So all of those preventative measures, I think, rather than being reactive, are where we need to put as much of our focus and our resources as we possibly can. And I can just say, this is my 15th year at RB, and I can say with 100% certainty that the increase of hospitalizations, the increase of students with depression, anxiety, school refusal, it's coming at us fast, and we are doing the best that we can to support the students and parents because they look to the school to give them the help and the support that they need. So that's what having that additional social worker now, granted it's one person 3 days a week, but I feel like we can already see a difference. There's already that planning that's gone on for some of these preventative programs. So I'm excited to see what the year is going to bring.
Beth, were there any questions submitted on the other supports or any specific things you want to highlight for the board that you're trying to implementing this year?
She answered one.
I answered Mr. Welsh's question. Yes. Yes.
Is there anything else you want to highlight?
No, I just think that we really do a great job monitoring these students, progress monitoring not only their credits, but their attendance, grades, and just really keeping a close eye on these students that need the most support.
Your next one was your matriculation rate.
Mind if I ask you
Oh, go ahead.
question?
Okay.
It really wasn't a focus of your report, but since you brought it up a bunch
Sure.
of times. So if the students who were special ed with enough credits to graduate but come back,
Mm-hmm.
you said we offer them transition services. Do they take course classes too, or what transition services do we
Let me
offer?
answer that.
Sure.
Did you answer that?
Transition-
Yeah, if it's another night to answer.
No,
that's
it's
fine.
transition services are not necessarily courses. That's where they work with the career program, the job program, teaching sort of social skills, life skills, so that they can be successful contributors to society and move on,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to maybe live on their own and hold down a job.
So since we have a much bigger group, what area of our staff handles the transition services, and do we have the right staff now? You said this is the most we've ever had.
Right, we have two
to address
full-time
the
transition specialists
Mm-hmm.
that are certified transition specialists, and then we also have a special ed teacher that assists with the 2 transitional services, and I believe there's also an aide or 2
Correct.
that work with them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so moving on to matriculation. So this is where students are self-reporting through their transcript requests, their final transcript requests. We had 97.1% of our students indicating that they were moving on to a 2-year, 4-year technical trade school or prep school, or military, and then a small percentage of our students going on to seek employment. I think this is something that we just continue to try to get better at in helping to push students earlier on for that post-secondary planning. And it's tough because it's not just the student, it's such a family decision and what that looks like. And so providing parent events, trying to get parents to attend those so that they're starting early. That's something that we're going to, as a department, continue to revamp and see if we should be doing more freshman year, reaching out to other schools and seeing if they have some speakers that they could recommend that will be motivating to students and then also help parents in their planning and their decision making. I wanted to answer, Mr. Welsh had a question about DVR.
I couldn't remember what it said.
So DVR is Des Plaines Valley Region, and we have a partnership with them. We are one of 6 high schools, along with Triton, and their primary focus is to look for partnering with, out in the community to find careers and programs of study for high school students and for college students. So every year they have sort of a new idea, a new plan, and this year they are doing field trips with each high school to Triton, and I highlighted the 4 programs that they're highlighting this year: auto, computer science, manufacturing, and health sciences. So on September 18th, we're hopeful to have a busload of students, seniors, some of them undecided, some of them who actually are interested in this particular career, and they'll go over to Triton and visit the individual program, hear from the teachers at Triton. And so that's organized through DVR, which some of the planning is on our part, but it's just a nice partnership to have with them because they'll reach out to the community and try to do some of these organized events to expose students to what's out there. And hopefully that's just, that's a partnership that just continues to grow and get better.
Were there questions submitted, Beth, on the matriculation?
I answered Mr.
Okay.
Rush's
Mind if I
question.
ask?
Go ahead.
Can
I ask the same question I asked you at the football game last week?
Yes.
Are we able to, or do we track what the success rate of our students that enter college, whether they graduate or not?
Yeah, that does show up on ultimately the report card, but what it doesn't show is the student that takes 6 years or the student that takes 7 years to get a degree. I think they just track them after 4 years.
And how is it tracked?
Through their Illinois
National
number.
Clearinghouse.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, what I find promising though, and I said this today in our leadership council meeting, is that students feel that moving on to a 2-year school or a trade school, like that is what's seen as the norm here. That they see themselves going on and doing something post-secondary. And while work is certainly a start, I think they quickly learn that there needs to be some skill building. There needs to be a path other than just I'm going to go out and get a job. And so that's one of the things that Kylie Lindquist and I are going to be working on with the Career Academy or the Career Committee. And we're hopeful to do some career spotlights this year, looking at student interest and targeting those students that really don't know what they're going to do. We have so many students, they know they're going to go on to a 4-year college, and they'll probably figure out a major somewhere along the way. But it's those students that really just, they don't know what their passion is, they haven't tapped into an interest, to expose them to some unique careers or something that might get them energized. And then I'm also hopeful to send out probably like a Google form to our parents, because I think we have so many resources right here in our own building. Parents that would be willing to speak at a career spotlight or participate in a college fair, or someone from their company, or they're an entrepreneur, they've started their own company, to really start building a database of where we can reach out to people and say, we have this student that has expressed an interest in this. Can you help us? Or have a conversation, because sometimes just having a conversation with another adult is enough to spark a student to get excited about it. So that's something that's also in the works for this year.
Thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you.
Attendance and engagement, right, Kristen?
Mm-hmm. So our next 2 staff members are Assistant Principal of Student Affairs, Mr. Dave Mannon, and Assistant Principal for Athletics, Mr. Brennan Curtin, and they're here to talk about student engagement from last year as well as attendance. And then each of them also have a report from either summer camp or summer school as well to share with you.
Thank you, Kristen. Good evening, board. Today we're going to present my portion. The first to go would be the average daily attendance for the 17-18 school year. Looking at the chart there, we put, going back to 2014, our overall average daily attendance, and this year we came out at 94.5%, which is staying consistent. It's a little bit higher than last year at 94.2, and similar to 94.3 and 16. I came on board in 16, and we saw a % increase there at that point. And we've held pretty consistently throughout. We've had a couple things that have gone against our average daily attendance, like the Cubs rally and the cold weather last year. So we're on a really good track until that happened. So it's credited to our deans and what we're doing right now, and really getting out and pounding the pavement and getting our students into the building. But 94.5, we're pretty excited about that. We're going to continue to utilize our check-in and check-out procedures through HERO. The dean's office completed 53 home visits throughout the year in association with our school liaison officer now, so that's an added resource that we're utilizing as well. We do weekly attendance meetings with our continual school improvement team, and then increased attendance awareness through quarterly transfer meetings that we've held with our students that come in from outside of our feeder programs. We saw that that was a very successful thing, and one impact area for our daily attendance is our transfer students that haven't been in the feeder program. So we increase our one-on-one time with those students, offering them opportunities and seeing what their needs are, and getting them into the class and into the building. Plan to improve the attendance rate this year. We're really doing an upfront push. We've created a website link, Attendance Matters link, and we're utilizing our 2 full-time psychologists now, and we're doing a bi-weekly meeting where we're really getting out front. We're looking at early attendance data from our students, and then we're going to do a one-to-one push utilizing not only our psychologists, but then also our interns from the Student Services Office. So we're going to do daily check-ins with our students. This is something new that we're doing this year. And we're also going to be putting students through, if they have chronic truancy, as we see through that data, we're going to put them through some lunch meetings where psychologists are utilizing a curriculum, attendance curriculum, to better their attendance and more like better inform our students about how we can get them here and how can we serve you. So pretty excited about this program, getting this up and running right now. You've probably seen some posters throughout the building regarding attendance and attendance matters, and so we're excited to get this up and running, and we'll see how this goes this year. We're going to continue the PERKS program, which is a point-based system that our psychologists put together last year for our at-risk students, defined by their attendance and grades. So that'll get going after the quarter report cards come out. And then continued collaboration with our school improvement team, and we just talked about the lunch meetings that we're going to start this year as well. So we're excited about where we're at with our attendance. We're continuing to be innovative and come up with new things and utilize the resources that are available to us. So I want to thank you for increasing our social work staff, our psychologists, and we're leaning on them this year to help us out in our student affairs office. Questions on attendance?
Engagement?
Okay, this report I love.
Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Is that your headphones that Mr. Prokes is speaking into?
Sorry?
Are those your headphones Mr. Prokes is speaking into? Is there a way to turn those down maybe? Thank you.
This is the next report here that we're going to give out is our engagement report, which includes extracurricular activity participation in either activities or sports. This is always an exciting one to look at the end of the year, because throughout the year we're always offering up students opportunities, and they're presenting those to us. And so throughout the year, if students have ideas, we're open to that. And if they, we have a sponsor and we can get active participation, we're going to run with it. And so it's really cool at the end of the year to see where that falls. Our district goal in our percentage is 70%. Looking at where we're at with 2016, we're at 63. We bumped up to 69% this year. So we're almost to our district goal, which we're really excited about. Based on the chart below our attendance percentage, we broke out who's involved in what. And so we did that by grade level. And so you see our kids are involved not only in just one, but several activities or several sports. So this chart that you see is an extracurricular activity that includes a sport or a club. So that's a combined effort there. Because we know that our students may be in Model UN, but they may also be on badminton or a volleyball team or football teams, and so on and so forth. So that chart there breaks that out for you. Students involved in one activity is 495 total at all grade levels. 2 is 346, and 3 activities is 274. It's always difficult as the seasons get long and kids are more involved to get them involved in more than 3, but we're pretty excited with 274 there. The chart that's below that, we broke that down. We did a little historical trend there from 15-16 to 17-18, and this is where we really see our percentages increase. Our seniors, we were really excited about that, from 55 to 66% that are involved in something. And so that's a big win. We usually see our upper level students typically tail off there. So if we can keep them in the building and lean on them for their leadership, that's something that we're really happy about. We did see a little bit of a decline there in our junior class from 68 to 63. Our sophomores picked it up at 72%, overall 72% involved in something. And then our freshmen are always significantly high, but this year a little bit more, and they were involved. 77% of the freshman class last year was involved in something, whether it was an activity or sport. So overall, that brings our number to 1,115 students that are involved in something out of the 1,610 that we have in the student body, and that brought our percentage to 69%. So I want to thank the board and all of our staff for really jumping in and getting involved. Some of our staff go unpaid, and they offer themselves up as volunteers, and so we started several of those clubs, and we can't do that without staff support in their time. So.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have to ask about hockey, but then I have another question. Do you include the kids who play hockey?
We did this year, yes.
You did?
Uh-huh.
That's exciting.
Yes.
Thank you. And then
How do you think we got to 66%?
I know, it was those kids. And then do you ever look at cohort data? So like the juniors in 16, 17 were 68%, but when they're seniors, they're 66%. So do you ever track it that way, where you look to see, you know, so like as sophomores, they were 70%, and then juniors, they were 68%, and then seniors, they were 66%. Do you ever look at the data that way to see if?
Yeah, it's a different way to look at it. I think I always, in the back of my mind, is, you know, our upperclassmen significantly are down always. And so we try to track where our seniors are at overall engagement-wise. And so, but looking at the cohort historically is something that we can take a look at going forward here.
Okay, I was just wondering, because when you look at it that way, some of them, the percentages go down when you look at the same group of kids. But, okay, thanks.
Is it three? One column is 3 or more, Dave.
Yes.
So part of it, though, as Wes pointed out, which isn't a bad thing, we also are doing a better job at tracking
Yes.
activities people are in, right? Because at one time, we didn't count the kids that were supporting the play, but we do now, right? Because
do.
there's a bunch of them doing
Yeah.
that.
We're also we're formalizing some of those clubs that maybe were informal previously.
Okay.
You know, so like our book club, that's going to be formalized here, and that was students that met that are here after school,
Right.
but were never tracked.
Okay.
And so we're doing a better job of making sure that those get formalized, and we have a sponsor, we bring those out. So.
We have a new play director that's done a really good job. I think the musical, she double casted, correct?
And our new fall director as well. So Alice in Wonderland had 70 students try out for the fall play this year, and so she kept 50 and double casted many of the roles.
Wow.
The staff's done a really good job with this, no doubt.
Okay. Good evening, Board. I'd like to touch on some of the athletic participation numbers. We have had 748 students participate in a sport. Of the 748 students that did participate in a sport, 486 students participated in one sport, 237 students participated in 2 sports, and 25 students were 3-sport athletes. I'd like to touch on some of our efforts to drive athletic participation. We have continued to improve our community engagement with future Bulldogs. We've expanded youth appreciation recognition nights. Our athletic programs have hosted youth clinics more times throughout the year. For example, soccer, cheerleading, softball, to name a few. We've had continued extended training and coaching clinics for our youth programs and their coaching staff. For example, basketball, softball, football. Excuse me. Regarding the youth appreciation nights, in the contest where we hold those, it should be noted that it is on this night only that youth student athletes are offered complimentary admission to the contest, not every home contest. We feel by recognizing our youth student athletes on these nights, these potential future Bulldogs are exposed to our athletic programs and get an inside look at our programs, and this event serves as a marketing opportunity to showcase our programs to both student athletes and their families. On a separate note, all athletic programs continue to be nominated for the IHSA Team Academic Achievement Award, which promotes athletes to maintain a team grade point average of over 3.0. This recognition has served as a badge of honor amongst our coaches and their programs, and is often referenced when conducting those youth appreciation nights, sharing that information with our future Bulldog student athletes and their families. And again, you know, coaches do take pride in that and stressing the fact that the better our student athletes perform in the classroom, the more opportunities they'll have when they leave Riverside Brookfield. The athletic department continues to increase the competitiveness for our lower level programs, freshman, sophomore, JV levels, and many sports by expanding their schedules of contests, thereby creating more opportunities for our lower level athletes. For example, we've expanded our boys Christmas basketball tournament to include freshmen A, B, and sophomores. We now have a JV level for boys and girls soccer, boys and girls water polo. We have JV invites for that, as well as a JV badminton invite. So again, a lot of opportunity for some of our lower level athletes. Moving on, the athletic department continues to increase, marketing our programs to potential Riverside Brookfield students by working with the wellness department. I should say, each member of the staff of the wellness department has been instructed to share the many opportunities that we have within our athletic program. And I think all fall sports continue to keep their doors open well into the school year. Obviously, there's a cutoff date, but there's still some untapped student athletes that are sometimes on the fence. So sometimes when they get that nudge from their wellness teacher, it can make the difference in driving those numbers up and identifying potential team members. Any questions on athletic participation? Okay, I'll kick it back to Dave.
Hey, Brendan, real quick on the, you talked about the lower levels and increase in participation in the A's and B's. So as we continue our engagement, we're going to have to, one of the new jobs you're going to have to look into as the athletic director, I know Kristen's talked about this a little bit, is we still need to continue to investigate conference opportunities. I know with several of the schools in our conference being private schools don't offer these lower levels. So there's sometimes where we're playing 3 different opponents on one weekend because the other schools only have a varsity team, no lower levels. And I had one board member tell me that, the 60-mile commute to Friday night's football game was a little extreme.
Sure.
So I know you're only like 60 days on the job.
Right.
But with Tom and John, when they were here for the last 3 years, and the board's asked about that a little bit, is possibly looking to find us, see if there's any conference opportunities out there for us.
Sure. I think, as I mentioned before, I think it's important to explore all opportunities and be open-minded and open to any opportunities to explore different conferences. And, I can explain firsthand in scheduling, you schedule a freshman and a sophomore contest. More often than not, it's going to be a different opponent for that freshman team because so many sports are combining like frosh soft games, and that's not who Riverside Brookfield is. We're still at a place where we can have a freshman team, B team as well, and then a sophomore team. So that starts to become a little bit of a challenge when we're scheduling conference contests in virtually every sport. So I think it's important that we do continue to explore different options.
So then additionally, they both each have a report in regards to summer school will be first, and then summer camps. So summer school is on page 57 of board book.
So the summer school revenue and expenses chart that you are looking at now is something that we hand out each year to track where we're at overall with students and course fees revenue, expenses, and then just overall operating expenses for summer school. Overseeing summer school for this year and in the previous year, our numbers are pretty consistent. We ran 9 credited courses, 6 non-credited courses. We brought health back again. We saw a total of 316 students involved in either a non-credited course or workshop or accredited course. The overall operating budget there, we received a little over $13,000 in title money, so that offset some of the expenses, and so we ended up with a neutral balance there at the end of the day. So there's no cost to the district in running summer school again for this year.
Okay, Brendan?
Okay, athletic summer camps. Excited to share that we experienced an increase in summer camp participation of approximately 12%. We had nearly 1,000 summer campers. Some of the programs that saw the biggest increases: badminton saw an increase of 21 campers, boys and girls volleyball an increase of 21 campers as well, boys and girls soccer an increase of 28 campers, and wrestling increased 16 campers. All camps ran cost neutral. Moving forward and planning summer athletic camps for 2019, it is the athletic department's goal to share these summer camp dates and times with the community in early February. By doing so, it is our hope that we'll secure more campers by releasing our summer camp dates and times sooner than our neighboring high schools.
Any questions for these two gentlemen? Thank you guys,
All right,
great
thank
job.
you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
We got the, we got it back on here, on our list again, police department radio equipment.
No update.
Chance for visitor statement, seeing that there's no visitors, we'll move on to additional discussion items. Anyone have any additional discussion items they want to bring up? Look to my left, look to my right. Nope.